Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sapphire Duffy and I am a community manager at WWCode. Today's session is Tech Careers for Creatives with our amazing partner Shutterstock. I'm really excited to welcome our amazing speakers today. Alessandra Sala is a Senior Director of AI and Data Science at Shutterstock. Alessandra has over 10 years of experience in research and innovation from academic and commercial environments, and is helping to lead Shutterstock's integration of AI and creativity. So welcome, Alessandra. And we also have Louise Miller. Louise Miller is a principal engineer at Shutterstock. Louise's work focuses on using AI and power a seamless search and discovery of customer experience of Shutterstock's millions of images and videos. And we also have Claudia Alonso as a full stack software engineer at Shutterstock. Claudia is helping the team to build a contributor platform that responds to the needs of Shutterstock's network of more than 2 million contributors. When she is not coding, she enjoys hanging out with friends. Thank you for joining us today, Alessandra, Louise, and Claudia. I will now pass over the session to you and stop sharing my screen. There we go.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for having us here today. So let's jump right into our packed agenda. We have a little bit of an introduction of who we are at Shutterstock and what we do. And then we'll discuss some of the projects that are keeping us busy. So thanks for joining it today. I'm Alessandra Sala, Senior Director of AI and Data Science at Shutterstock, and also the Global President of Women in AI. And we'll talk about the AI a lot today. So for all the women who code that are interested in data science, Shutterstock is definitely an interesting place for you. So let's get started. As I said, a little bit of an intro, few projects, and then sharing some experience of what it means to work for a company like Shutterstock. But let's start from the basic. Do you know what we do at Shutterstock? So let's tell a little bit about our story. Shutterstock is a creative company. It's a dual marketplace where on one side we have contributor artists around the world that bring to Shutterstock their amazing creation, their amazing photography. And Shutterstock helps to bridge the gap between those ideas, those design, those amazing visual creation with people all over around the world that are looking for visual content to create, to publicize their companies, to create beautiful presentation for marketing campaign or anything that helps us to express our ideas. So Shutterstock was funded in US 2003 and crowdsourced content from contributors around the world. And Claudia will tell us all about our contributor network. We became a public company in 2012. And from that moment, Shutterstock has evolved around core value. And that's, I would say, it's the thing that motivates us to work at Shutterstock, to really feel part of a family, of working together, building this community to help creativity in the world and drive changes through our technology, which we'll showcase later. So in the history of Shutterstock, funded in 2003 up to today, Shutterstock has grown not just in terms of people, but has acquired other companies to grow the content we are in and we provide through our platform. And in the recent couple of years, there has been a strategic effort to grow Shutterstock in the AI space. In 2021, we launched Shutterstock.ai, which has been fueled by the acquisition. Look at 2021, Shutter, Pattern 99, Dataset, so many amazing startups that are part of our family today that help us to create what we do at Shutterstock, and we'll tell you all about in a few minutes. So before we jump ahead on the technical side of this presentation, because we know you guys and ladies likes the technical bits in those webinars, Shutterstock.ai has been funded to leverage our catalogs of million assets with very high quality metadata to power all the AI experiences that help our customer to find the piece of content that fits their vision, their ideas, and the purpose that they have in front of them. So why AI at Shutterstock? You know, AI has been striving on few key needs. One is computing power, but the other one is the knowledge on which those algorithms are built, which comes from data. A few years ago, only a very small data set were enough to train those neural networks that were quite small before. Today, the amount of data that those models require has grown exponentially to 100 million, and some of the recent fundamental foundation model even 2 billion data set, which means Shutterstock is very well placed to open this data set that we have to model those very large model. We have 400 million images, more than 20 million videos, and then music, 3D models, editorial content. So it's a marketplace rich of data, which lends itself very well for AI development. So with that, we want to show you some of the cool things that we do. So I'll pass it to my colleague Louise to talk about our amazing work on taxonomy.
Thanks, Alessandra. Hi, everyone. I'm Louise. I'm a principal engineer with Shutterstock, and I've been here for about 4.5 years now. I'm fortunate to have worked in a number of different areas and projects during my time here, but most recently I've been a part of our data and AI org and focused on enhancing our content metadata with intelligence. So if we go on to the next slide, please. So today I'm going to present like an overview of our taxonomy project, which uses AI to link assets to entities to build a taxonomy that will power our search and discovery of images and videos. Yep, next slide, please. So what problems are we trying to solve by building a taxonomy? You know, at Shutterstock, we seek to provide the most relevant world-class content to our customers, so they have everything they need to do their best work. But that's easier said than done. You know, users come to the Shutterstock website to look for images, videos, music, and they enter a query in the search bar, and we show them the best results that match. But language is full of ambiguity. It can be challenging to understand the context and meaning of a query to determine exactly what the user is looking for. So how do we bridge that gap? So for example, you know, if a user searches for Amazon images, are they looking for Amazon the company, the rainforest, the river, or the tribe of female warriors in Greek mythology? Also, users that come into Shutterstock are often looking for multiple assets. So if a marketer comes to Shutterstock to find assets for a new advertising campaign, they might well be looking for images and music. And so by understanding the semantic meaning of what the user is searching for, this will allow us to recommend different asset types that may meet their needs. And for any solution, you know, we need this to be scalable, have low latency and high throughput so that the whole experience is seamless to the user. I've said taxonomy now a number of times. So what do I mean by that? A taxonomy is a hierarchical classification of things. It's a knowledge base of entities that are unambiguous and have predefined relationships to each other. Popular taxonomies would include the Wikipedia, DBpedia, and Wikidata taxonomies, which, as well as maintaining a list of entities, they store many relationships between them in the form of a knowledge graph. And these taxonomies are free and open to use. So rather than us having to define and classify the whole word with everything in it ourselves, we've used the Wikidata taxonomy for our purposes. So on the right there, you can see an illustration of the Wikidata taxonomy integrated with our images. So continuing our Amazon theme, we have the image of the Amazon River, and we've linked that image to the entity for Amazon River. And that entity is linked by different relationships to several other entities. So should we be looking for images of rivers, both the Amazon image and the Nile image are eligible. But if we just want images related to the Atlantic Ocean or South America, only the Amazon image is relevant. Next slide, please. Cool. So what are the problems with all right, so yeah, so we know what a taxonomy is, but we have the Wikidata taxonomy as our definition, but how would we go about linking the right taxonomy entities to our Shutterstock assets? And this is actually a natural language processing task. So NLP is a branch of AI that is concerned with processing and understanding human text. So all assets in Shutterstock have a text description and a list of keywords associated with them. And we use a lot of NLP techniques to associate the correct entities with assets in our catalog. And there's some distinct parts to this process. The first part is mention spotting, which is the process of extracting the parts of a text that reference an entity. So one of the more complicated aspects of this is to determine the longest sequence of words that match a single entity. So for example, we can see Amazon rainforest was identified as an entity here, but the individual words Amazon and rainforest could also have been identified as individual entities. But the single Amazon rainforest entity is much more useful and specific for us to identify. And so we use link probability to help identify these longer terms. And that's a probability that if the text appears on a Wikipedia page, how likely is it that that same text is linked to another page for an entity? And even with these two things, mention spotting and link probabilities, there's still a chance for ambiguity to remain. If we identify the entity Chris Evans, is that Chris Evans the American actor, or is this the English radio DJ? And so for this, we look at the other entities identified in that same input and determine how many links there are common between these entities. So it's a combination of all of this and applying this to our asset metadata that allows us to extract an association between that asset and a set of entities. Yeah, next slide, please. So next I just want to briefly go about how we built that platform for taxonomy. I mean, it's one thing having the means to link entities to assets, but how do we store it? How do we process those links? How do we access them in reality? At Shutterstock, we have thousands of images a minute being uploaded by contributors. In excess of 1 million new images are approved and made available every week. So how do we manage this? And so we use Kafka as our foundation for our event-driven architecture to power that entity extraction pipeline. When a contributor uploads an asset to Shutterstock, they also enter the metadata about the asset, such as description and keywords. And anytime an asset's metadata changes, a message is sent to a specific Kafka topic. Our entity extraction processor consumes messages from this topic, extracts the taxonomy entities from the metadata, as I described earlier, and then we publish this information as output Kafka messages to another topic. So consumers of that topic then store these links in a number of different data stores. We store the information in Neptune, which is a graph database. So having the information stored in a dedicated graph database means we can run complex queries about assets and their relationships to entities. But we also store the entity information in DynamoDB. So the low latency nature of Dynamo is great for serving the results of specific types of queries back to the UI fast via Lambdas. And so storing the information in sort of different places with different technologies gives us a lot of flexibility to provide many different ways to access the taxonomy information to power different use cases. Cool. So now we have our taxonomy platform up and running in production. We have this extra layer of knowledge and intelligence in our content. You know, what have we done at Shutterstock to leverage that? So this slide just has a few examples. There's autocomplete in the search bar. This allows users to select what they mean when there is ambiguity. As the user is typing, we can provide suggestions based on our taxonomy for the search, but it's more than just simple autocomplete, right? So by the user selecting one of those options, they're indicating to us the proper context of their search, and we can return the images that we know are linked to that concept. Another application is breadcrumbs. Even though we're using Wikidata as our taxonomy, we have an additional layer on top of this that allows us to group entities in ways that make more sense from a visual perspective. We can use these groupings to display breadcrumbs at the top of our search results page. And this helps us consolidate similar search terms into atomic concepts, further reducing ambiguity and improving the experience overall for our users. Finally, we have improved our cross-asset recommendations. I mean, so if someone's looking for a video of a hand in water, we want to recommend sound effects related to water splashing sounds. So by incorporating the semantic knowledge at the taxonomy level, we're able to understand representation of our assets across different asset types and recommend the most relevant content. And there's many more places we can use this taxonomy. You know, trend forecasting, discovering gaps in our catalog. We might have 50,000 Panama hats, but very few trilbies, and we can provide this data to our contributors, give them the opportunity to deliver that content and provide them with a better shot at improving their earnings. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to talk about. Hopefully, thanks everyone for your time, and over to you, Alessandra, to talk about personalization.
Thank you very much, Louise. We are very proud of talking about our natural language processing project. And now we jump right back with me again into something about called personalization. So it's very important to understand that we all have specific preferences. The way we dress up, the food that we like to eat, everything we do is very rich of our personal preferences. And even the content that we consume online on specific platform, it's driven from who we are and what we like. In the industry, recommendation system and personalization have been found very important technology to actually engage your customer better. One of the example that I usually give, we have 400 million assets. If you were spending 1 second on each one of them, it will take 11 years and a half of your time to actually see our full catalogs. We use smart algorithms to actually give you what you like in nanosecond. And some of those algorithms are powered by this technology that understand what we like versus what we don't like, and we don't bother people with things that we know it's not aligned to their personal preferences. Recommendation systems have been largely used in companies like Amazon, YouTube, Netflix, and therefore there has been a lot of research and development in this area. As a matter of fact, in Dublin, where we are, there is a huge research community of professor and PhD student and master student that are very expert in this field. But how does it work? We have two users, user A and user B. They launch the same query. We understand within this Rexis ball who they are and what they usually like, and we provide back things that align better with their personal preferences. For example, for user A, she likes more people in close shot where you can see their face, their visual expression, while user B likes more many people on the street, high level view, very different kind of photography. So technically, some of the things that are going on in the background to actually fuel this engine is understanding the association between a user and their preference on the images, for example, that they have clicked in their past. So in this example, for example, you can see that Martha likes city, landscape, sunset, with images that have specific photography property, like top view, panoramic, outdoor, versus Kevin, like cats, plant pot, and the kind of photography is isolated object within this image with clear background, close up, some nature. So by understanding those properties, then we can train an algorithm that can predict whether a user may like an image or not. So technically, what we do, we collect information that can represent the personal preferences of a person, and we use also some metadata like the organization the person belongs to, the country, the language, the kind of product that they use within our platform. And from an asset perspective, we investigate things like in which category these asset represent, from which country, the dominant color, the color palette, the angle, if it's top view or eye level, if it's a style, a specific style, for example, candid, nature, paint, oil painting. But we also use some advanced deep learning to extract what we call the deep features of this image. And we represent those usually in high dimensional space like vector space. And we also use metadata like keywords that represent the semantic concept associated to a specific asset. Then we train our own model. The architecture of this model is based on two towers. One tower, which is one part of this model, is to encode the user preferences. So we use the user feature to actually teach this tower how to represent a specific user. And then the asset tower, which leverage all the features that I've just mentioned. And together, those two towers are trained to create a joint embed space, which is a high dimensional vector spaces, where when two things are close together, it means that they have similarity, they share similarity. For example, a user that is close to a number of pictures in this space, it means that this user most possibly will like those images. So just let me give a practical example. So two people from two companies, person A from Compass Group search for sustainability, and Pio Cruises search for sustainability, another customer there. Their results are completely different. The first company is looking at more green, nature kind of images. The second one is in the travel business. So obviously things like cars and self-driving car and energy efficiency vehicle are much more predominant. And that's some of the things we build and how we use at Shutterstock. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Claudia to talk about our contributors now.
Thank you, Alessandra. Hi, my name is Claudia, and today I'm going to talk about the contributor team and life at Shutterstock. I'm a full stack engineer on the contributor team, and as a full stack engineer, I work on both the front end and the back end of the contributor portal. Our contributors are the creators who increase our high quality library of stock media. Anyone can become a contributor through our contributor portal. Our first contributor was our founder, John Oranger. In 2003, he uploaded thousands of his own photos and made them available for subscription. But now Shutterstock is a global, intelligent, creative platform where artists from all backgrounds can create with confidence and transform their ideas into achievements. We take great care to source data with diversity. We have about 2 million active contributors around the world. And when starting with content and data, we make sure that we're representing diverse people, places, and concepts. Our content data sets are sourced using fresh media from millions of artists all around the world. Indonesia, India, Thailand, United States, and Ukraine are some of the top countries where you can find most of our contributors. Contributors submit their digital media to be licensed through Shutterstock on our contributor portal. All uploaded assets are reviewed, and if they're approved, they can be licensed through our Shutterstock sites. When a contributor's asset is licensed, the contributor makes money through that. Next slide, please. So the contributor team is the engineering team responsible of all contributor issues. Our main goal is to incentivize contributors to actively engage with Shutterstock and provide exclusive high-value content. We're responsible for the management of the contributor portal and the development of new features. Our objective for each project is to deliver high-quality features that improve the experience of our contributors. Currently, contributors are incentivized to upload high-quality content to have a higher chance of earning money from their content being licensed. We provide contributors with insights on the most requested content of the month on our shot list page. The shot list page is a guide describing the most sought-after content that month, and it offers a description of each shot type. We're currently working on migrating our old contributor portal to a fresher, more modern Next.js version. The new portal makes it easier for contributors to upload and manage their content, and it's also more user-friendly. Yeah, perfect. This is some pictures of the old contributor portal. On the left, we have a picture of what the dashboard looked like, and on the right, we have a picture of the content editor on the Submit tab. So if someone was submitting an image, they would go through here and add the metadata they wanted to their image. As you can tell, there's a bit of a mix here because there was a mix of frameworks being used on the old portal. On the left, we have a template-driven framework, and on the right, we have React, which is a reactive-driven framework. It looks outdated, and the mix of frameworks is kind of jarring as you're navigating from page to page. It also means that making changes to the old portal takes time, and sometimes a small code change becomes a big issue, and it requires a deep understanding of the code base itself. Next slide, please. So these are some pictures of the new pages that we have released. So these pages are live. On the left, we have a picture of the dashboard, and on the right, we have a picture of the referrals page. The new contributor dashboard displays relevant information to users, like their top performing assets, what country their assets are being licensed in, their earnings summary, and at the top of the page, there's a carousel with information that contributors might find useful. Building pages in Next.js is allowing us to make the portal much faster to update. So for example, that carousel that you see there in the image that gives contributors some information that they might find relevant is now very easy and quick to update. Previously, an update like that on the old contributor portal would have taken about a day or more, and now it takes around an hour. And this is because the carousel is CMS driven and can be updated independent of engineering resources. So this, next slide. Thank you. This is a high-level architecture diagram of what we're using on the contributor team, including the new contributor portal. So our front-end pages are built using React.js, using Axios on the client side to make the HTTP requests, and then we're using JavaScript just for hooks, tests, and theme files. Calls between our front end and the rest of Shutterstock are going through our backend Next.js, which is working to normalize data as it flows in and out of contributor web. The majority of our Next.js backend calls go through our contributor Carbon API. We're also beginning to introduce GraphQL as a source of our front-end data. Those calls then get directed out to the rest of Shutterstock or third-party services that we use. So for example, if a user creates a contributor account for the first time, a call is getting sent through contributor web to the contributor Carbon API. The API is sending an event to Kafka. the contributor STP worker is processing that Kafka event and making a call to the contributor database library. And that library is writing to the contributor database with the new contributor user information. Next slide. So now I'm just going to talk about life at Shutterstock. Next slide, please, if you don't mind. Thank you. I started at Shutterstock in 2021 and I did an internship with the contributor team, and I returned last August full-time after completing my master's. The internship I did with the contributor team allowed me to really excel in my master's because I was trusted to work on really important features and I was given as much responsibility as the other engineers on the team. During my time there, I was exposed to a number of different technologies, like using React for front-end development, querying server logs to find issues, and using the Jest testing library. And the team was very supportive. I had a mentor who didn't mind fielding a number of questions every day, which was a great bonus as well. So by my third week, I had already published a change to the contributor portal. It was really satisfying to see a physical outcome to the work that I'd been doing every day. And by the end of the first month, I was working on tickets by myself. Working on such an efficient software engineering team was the perfect opportunity to learn about web development and good teamwork. I really felt like a valued member of the team. I was encouraged to participate in events and to set aside time every day to focus on learning. So by the time I finished my internship, I had presented to over 100 people in a company-wide sprint demo, and I had led a knowledge share presenting the results of a spike ticket I had completed. So I was really proud of that. Next slide. But it's not always coding. We do some fun stuff as well. So during my time here at Shutterstock, there have been some great events. Last year, we had a stand at STEM Women Ireland's event at the Westin Hotel, where we connected with some great people and just giving everyone a rundown on what Shutterstock is and the careers that are available at the moment. And this International Women's Day, we had a speed networking event where we got to know each other a little bit better while enjoying some tasty pastries. So yeah, I'd encourage anyone who wants to become a contributor at the contributor website. It's submit.shutterstock.com, and I'll pass it on to Sheena now. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. My name is Sheena Quigg and I'm the recruitment lead in Ireland, looking after tech hiring. If you like what you heard about the exciting work that is happening at Shutterstock from Alessandra, Louise and Claudia, then why not explore some of the opportunities that we have at Shutterstock? We're always looking for talented people who get energized about building something new and amazing. We offer both hybrid and remote opportunities, and we actually have a number of opportunities open at the moment. So we have an opening for data engineers, we have an opening for an AI engineering manager, software engineers, front end, back end, and full stack, and also a Salesforce engineer. We've also opportunities as well in our infrastructure team, so in cloud DevOps and CI/CD engineering. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and also you can register with our careers page, which you can select your preferences and get notifications then when opportunities do arise. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheena. We couldn't live without our amazing support that you bring to our technical team. Let's pass it back to the Women Who Code team. I hope there are questions that we can answer now.
Hi, everyone. Hi, thanks, Alessandra. Thank you so much, Claudia, Alessandra, Louise, and Shana. Like, that was absolutely incredible. What an amazing presentation. And the feedback in the chat has been incredible. Thank you to all the participants. We do have questions. We have a lot of questions that came in through the Q&A. So the first question I have here is from Karina. And Karina has asked, how does the AI block certain pics that are unethical? How does it know that they're unethical?
I'll jump on this question and I'll give a little bit of background. So Shutterstock has a couple of different programs around how we do business. But let's take a step back. First of all, diversity and inclusion is so important to Shutterstock that even in the call today, we have Mikael, our global head of diversity and inclusion, which drives a number of different activities on how we do business, how we hire, how we design technology, and how we bring technology to the world. On the side, I have been collaborating with UNESCO on the global recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence, which has been approved from 193 countries, and we are in the phase of development now. So how do we bring those principle-based guidelines that ethics provide us into practice at Shutterstock? And I believe the question was specifically, how do we understand whether a person is typing something that is unethical? So there are different levels of inspection that we do. We do before even any text reaches our system, there is a level of understanding of what those queries mean from a semantic point of view, and we block content to reach even our services in the background. The model that we build, we constantly search for bias and try to audit the output of those models so that they are ethical in the way that they create the outcome. And then going back to the work that Claudia was talking about, our contributor network. Our contributor network are people from more than 150 countries around the world. And when they provide us those amazing images and the description and the metadata and a set of keywords, we audit we audit the content, we audit the metadata, we review. Is it safe for work? Does it bring biases, or may this content have some ethical consequences if used in specific use cases? So it's a very complex answer, but it is a platform that touches so many aspects that when you want to do it in practice, you need to tackle all those different aspects. I hope I've answered your question, but if not, keep posting more questions in the chat and we'll get to you.
Thanks, Alessandra. So we have another question from Adina. Shana, this might be a good one for you to answer. So, hi, I'm a freelance data scientist. I just started and I'm interested in collaborating. Please let me know if you have any options for freelancers.
Okay, so right now I don't have any current opportunities for freelancers. We do have permanent opportunities, but I will put my LinkedIn in the chat and perhaps Adina and I can connect offline and discuss that further.
Thank you, perfect. Okay, so we have a question in from Kevin. How long would it take to create and make sure the twin model is suitable to be deployed?
I'll get started and possibly then I'll pass it to Louise. She has amazing experience on the ground. So the first and true answer is it depends from the model. There are some simple models that needs much more confined data set and specific data set. For example, we try to understand whether there is noise in an image. So we need data that have noise and data that have no noise, perfect images. So those data sets are quite limited because they try to understand something very specific. And therefore, the development can be much faster than what would you think is a recommendation system or is a model that works in the taxonomy space. But everything starts with an R&D project where we create a very simple initial proof of concept, we test, we check for biases, we do all this work to understand how close we are from a possible solution, and then we decide really how much investment you need. Because unless you do this first element, or this first research part of the work, is very difficult to predict. And let me pass to Louise now.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think Alessandra gave a quite detailed answer. So, I mean, the only thing I'll add to that is, yeah, we're a very data-driven org, right? So we'd run a lot of experiments and use that data to determine, you know, is the model good enough or not, you know? So, and a lot of time, it isn't, you know, when when you train a model, a lot of time it's like, well, you know, cleaning of the data beforehand and the pre-processing is where a lot of time will be spent. But yeah, the main thing is for any of these things, it depends, and just experiment and see what works and, you know, go from there.
Great, thank you both. And we have a question in from Emma Brum. So Emma asked, what is Shutterstock's view currently on the use of images created using generative AI? Are contributors allowed to submit such images?
So currently they are allowed to submit such images. I think we expect the contributor though to put it down somewhere to flag it, just so we know it is an AI generated image and not one that they've taken themselves.
I also like to jump in a little bit here to add another aspect of our generative journey. Shutterstock has decided to take a very specific stand, which means to reward contributors that have participated with their images to create those generative models. Therefore, we only want to sell things that we know have generated from a model that is controlled with the data that has gone into the model, for two reasons. So that every time this model generates an image that is sold to a person, we can reward all the people that have contributed. And the second reason, because you may have heard that there is quite a controversial discussion on whether those models can even be used for commercial purposes, because some of those have been trained on images that were not licensed legally. So taking this stand of actually generating images only on models that can be controlled and can be used to reward contributors for their participation into this technological space is a very important new model that brings people together with technology in doing business. Because if you are an artist, it doesn't matter how much I pay you for an image if a machine now can generate billion images. But if I reward you every time this machine generates any of those billion images, then you will be part of the creative process and revenue share generation.
Great, thank you both. Our next question is from Sylvia. What were some of the challenges when migrating the contributor platform to the Next.js platform?
Yeah, so there was a number of challenges. Just wrote some notes here on a little sticky note. So one of them was the pages on the old contributor portal might have displayed a lot of information. So we're currently working on taking where contributors see all of their assets and where they've put them into collections and splitting that out across a number of different pages. And that itself is a bit tricky because we're having to make sure that we're including all of the same features, but we're also trying to add extra features for contributors as well. And releasing that page is going to require us to coordinate very well, as we'll have to require the pages all together as a whole, and then so we can cut everything over to that one site. Mapping the existing components over to a new component as well, because we want to give a more modern look and we want to make it more user-friendly, but we need to make sure that we're keeping what we already have. So we're not taking away any of the useful features that contributors currently like. And as well, we're using our contributor Carbon API, which means that our API calls haven't changed. We're still getting the same data back. So we're just having to be creative about what we're doing with that data as well. And sometimes we don't have the data that the designs want us to have. So if they want the amount of views an asset is getting, we don't currently have that data. We're working to implement to get it. But for now, we're just trying to put out as much as we can with what we have. And then in the future, we're going to build out on that to get better features in there. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. And Annie has asked, how does Shutterstock tell users or contributors how their data might be used by AI recommendation systems? Is it explained? Oh, sorry, it disappeared. Is it explained further beyond the terms and conditions document? Or is there an option to opt out of their contributions being used by the AI models?
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm not sure if it's explained anywhere else, but we're currently working on implementing an opt-out version, and you can opt out right now if you want to, just by emailing us, but we're going to be adding an opt-out button there. Contributors can opt out and their images won't be used at all for any AI models. And in the future, we will be marking any assets that have, if you are opted in, we'll be marking any assets that are used for the AI models, and you are going to be paid out for those images that are used in those models.
Thank you. And Sunitha asked, what challenges to your business model and to creators do you foresee from the high-paced development of generative AI, such as DALL-E and runway generative
Yeah.
video, etc.?
Yes. Those are super interesting model and definitely are bringing disruptive innovation into our industry. So there are a couple of things that are happening. Remember that Shutterstock is a marketplace. On one side, we have all the contributors. Usually those are people, photographer, artists. And on the other side, we enable them to connect and sell everywhere in the world. So today, what we are doing, we are adding also generative as another type of contributor. Obviously, any user that likes to use our generative capability, they're looking for more fantasy, more creative things that are difficult to go take your camera, go on the street and take a picture of, because have those unrealistic element into it. So it's a slightly different market, and it's another capabilities that we bring into our network, but continuing to give a lot of space and opportunity to human, to photographers that are all the whole day on the street and in the field, taking those amazing photography or making those amazing art.
Thank you. These questions are great from everyone. Thanks for all the questions coming in. Let's see. So our next one then is from Karina. Karina asked, do you support certain causes through the use of the photos, example, Greenpeace or animal welfare? Is that considered too biased?
I think it's a beautiful question. And I believe the space that we give into our platform to all those images, if you type Greenpeace, if you type women who code, women in AI, we have done campaign to promote a content source with diversity. So we constantly try to not only showcase the content that we already have, but even source content that we believe should be even more represented with more diversity and so on. So there is a team that is constantly trying to showcase what we have and constantly source with diversity.
That's amazing. Thank you. Christine also said in the chat, I appreciate the thoughtfulness of the answers today, and I love the intentionality that goes into creating an inclusive Shutterstock platform, and I agree with that. It's amazing. And Delia asked another question. So I'm a full stack developer student in New York City. How can I find a mentor for coding? That might be a great question that we could answer. But does anyone else from Shutterstock want to answer this before?
Well,
Please go ahead.
Shayna? Go on ahead, Shayna.
Yeah, I was just going to say we do have lots of collaborations with different colleges and universities. What I would say is a lot of those are actually Ireland based, because we have a huge engineering team here in Ireland. So a lot of the work that has been done is quite local in that respect. But we have people that mentor various students at university when they're doing projects, and then there's awards and things like that at the end. We do like speed networking, we do interview coaching and intern workshops as well, and that's how we connect with students. But if that person wants to connect with me directly, I'll see if there's someone that I can connect them with in the US, and obviously you guys have some ideas as well.
Awesome, thank you. Anna also asked in the question in the chat, would love to hear more about Claudia's mentor. You described how they helped you.
Yeah, so when you're doing your internship with Shutterstock, you get assigned a mentor, and when you're onboarding as well as a full-time engineer, you get assigned a mentor. And so my mentor during my internship was with me constantly for the first week. We were always on call, we were getting set up, we were doing everything from scratch. And he was always there. He was answering every single question I had. He was great. And it was like that up until the end. I didn't need to be with him on call all the time. By the time I was in my 3rd month, I'd talk to him on call, just one-to-one, maybe once a week. But he was always there answering questions. He was great. So he was very supportive.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think we just have one more question to ask. Let me just find it. Yeah, so I think let's see. What developments now are most exciting to you right now? I guess we can finish with this question, but we'd love to hear what excites everyone here.
Louise, do you want to start?
Well, I'm a little intrigued by ChatGPT and the ability to co-pilot and stuff like that can produce code for us. Intrigued and slightly scared, but yeah, that's one area I think that's going to be quite transformative for the next few months.
I also believe it's a moment where people are realizing that AI has a great potential, but also needs to be understood and regulated better. And are those beautiful moments when you bring problems to the technical community and they start to come up with serious and interesting answer around ethics, around how do we mitigate bias, how do we create more transparency and explainability to those models, that we have been talking about those issues for quite a bit. but I would say in the next few years, we will see a real progress in that space as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think this is just the start of AI. I think it's going to go really far, probably going to get integrated into a lot of our life, you know. It already is. I would be very cautious though, just to make sure where we are integrating it, it is necessary and we just don't slap it in everywhere. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what it brings.
Awesome. I guess that's all the questions then. Thank you so much, everyone, for your amazing questions, and thank you, Claudia, Shayna, Louise, and Alessandra for your amazing presentation today. It was amazing, and we've got so many comments from all of our attendees thanking you. It was an amazing presentation, and thank you so much for everything. Just to let everyone know, there's a few links that's added into the chat. There's a careers link from Shutterstock that Stephanie shared. I'll share it again in the chat so we can direct everyone there to have a look at the careers that Shutterstock have. Thank you, everyone. And I hope you all have an amazing day.
And thank you, Women Who Code, that gave us this opportunity to connect with you all and speak about amazing things that we do at Shutterstock. We want to see more women in our companies and in the field. So if you need advice, please reach out to us. We'll do anything that we can to support your journey.
Thanks very much, guys. This is great.
Thanks.
Bye.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.